As President Biden's time in the White House draws to a close, his administration is racing to safeguard as much as they can before Donald Trump takes over. Under the Biden administration, tackling climate change and developing a strong green economy was a top priority. And while the Biden administration set records for oil exports, its record also included a number of investments in terms of green energy. The Inflation Reduction Act was a defining achievement for the Biden administration. It jump-started the process of investing trillions of private and public dollars into clean energy and climate resilience projects. In the last 2 years alone, the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure bill have created hundreds of thousands of clean energy jobs across almost every state. More than 90% of the funds from those bills has already been paid out, and major climate projects are already underway. But Trump and his allies have promised steps that could essentially undo much of this progress. The incoming administration wants to redouble emphasis on fossil fuel production. Not sure if you've heard the whole drill, baby, drill thing. Now, Trump's pick to lead the Department of Energy is oil industry CEO Chris Wright. Wright has repeatedly downplayed the threat of climate change and has even said that a warming planet is a positive thing. Joining me now to discuss this is the Energy Secretary for the Biden administration, Jennifer Granholm. Secretary Granholm, it is such a pleasure to talk to you.
Great to be on. Thanks so much.
Really excited for this conversation. These been some very groundbreaking ideas and strides that have been made under this administration.
Unbelievable.
But some of them have yet to come into fruition entirely.
Yeah.
How do you respond to folks who have seen the investment but not the return?
Now, this is such an important thing. So there's 3 laws that were passed, as many of your viewers know, under the Biden administration that really created an industrial strategy, which we had not had before as a nation. The Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the CHIPS and Science Act. As a result of those laws, just in the past 2.5 years since the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, there have been over 950 announcements of factories. Now, I'm coming from the Midwest, the industrial Midwest. We saw all of those factories leave. We are reindustrializing America, which is amazing because all of these communities that really had the sidewalks roll up when factories left are now seeing investment. But to your point, these contracts are being let. Maybe there's been some groundbreakings. There haven't been a whole lot of ribbon cuttings yet, meaning the factories are not opening yet. And people, just because it takes time to build a factory, right? And people may not be being hired yet. So all of the fruition, now I say 950 factories, that's so far. Every 2 days, there's another announcement of a factory being opened as a result of these 10-year laws. So we're going to see a lot of the fruition of this in the next few years. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because 85% of the investments are actually going to red states and red counties. I think that's one of the reasons why there's some durability of these laws.
So what do you say to the coal miners and the folks who work in the oil industry who are saying, yeah, that's great, these factories are coming back, but what about me? I need to make sure that I'm protected, I can feed my family in this sort of changing environment that you've described.
Yeah, it's hugely important that people realize that the people who powered our nation for the past 100 years have an opportunity to power our nation for the next 100 years in future-facing jobs in clean energy. Just as an example, geothermal power is the heat beneath our feet. And the same skill set that is used to extract oil and gas is the exact skill set that you would need to extract that heat beneath our feet. You need drill sets, you need people who understand rigs, et cetera. There's a lot of transferable skills in the clean energy space that pay really well. And these communities can also see benefits in nuclear power. There's a lot of interest on the part of former coal plants that have been shut down to be able to host small modular nuclear reactors, for example, or long-duration energy storage and combined with renewable energy as an opportunity for people to be able to be employed. There's just a huge amount of skill sets that are needed in the clean energy economy. And the kicker is that of these investments I mentioned, 81% have gone to communities that have below average weekly wages. 86% have gone to communities with below average college graduation rates. So the point is, on this reindustrialization, we are really healing a lot of the breach that happened when factories were lost and when coal plants are shut down.
And I just moonlight as a TV guy, but my alter ego is a civil rights attorney, so I got to ask you about energy justice. Can you talk for a moment about what has been done in this space around energy justice, how important it is, and very quickly, the threat of what it is to not continue to invest in that space and what it means?
We know that communities of color and disadvantaged communities have been disproportionately negatively impacted by both not having, in the past, not having investments for job opportunities in this clean energy space, and by bearing the burden of the pollution that is when you have the oil and gas industry concentrated in areas. I think of Cancer Alley, for example, in Louisiana. Here's the interesting thing about the way the Inflation Reduction Act was developed and is executed. If you're a developer and you want to put in solar development, you get a 30% tax credit just for doing that. You get another 10% tax credit if you pay prevailing wage and have fair labor standards. You get another 10% if you locate in a disadvantaged community. And so consequently, in the past 2 years, just because of these laws, 49,000 projects have been located in disadvantaged communities from last year, and this year it will be 50,000. That is amazing when you think of the opportunity that these laws are creating, really repairing a lot of the inequity that has occurred to get investment into communities that have been left behind.
Madam Secretary, thank you so much for this conversation. It has truly been amazing. That was U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. So glad to have her today on Velshi.